Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to the Human Training Your Dog is Begging For. If you are needing help understanding your dog and their behaviors, you've come to the right place. I'm Charles Countryman, co-founder of Canine Culture here in Dallas, Texas. As always, we have lead trainer Julie. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
How's your morning going?
Hectic because of traffic.
Traffic sucked this morning.
Yes.
Yeah. I even left at 6:25 this morning. And
a straight hour and a half of driving to barely get here on time.
And Wyatt, head of dog evaluations and senior trainer. How are you today?
Good. Same thing as Julie.
So I heard you had a little mishap with one of your pups yesterday.
Yes. My older dog, Abby, the one that I figured was the safe one, decided to run away.
The bulletproof one.
Yep.
Run away?
Well, she wandered off.
She wandered off. She did not run. Abby just kind of wanders from human to human she meets because she's so friendly and she'll jump in anyone's car. I mean,
that's not good.
And that's what she did.
But
that's what she did. She was about a block and a half away, just living at somebody's house.
She's like, this is great.
For the day, having a new family. Yeah.
So, good learning experience. What could have been done to avoid Abby going on a walkabout?
Locking doors. I have small children that love to open doors.
Yeah.
And they love to play in the front yard more than the backyard. And that's probably what got me.
And you were out in the front yard. And
I was out in the front yard doing stuff. And I thought I had no idea till hours after she'd probably ran away because
Well, she didn't run away.
Well,
we all know Abby.
Yes, she just walked off.
Went for a walkabout.
I just didn't see her. I was amazed when I couldn't find her because I had no idea she had left.
So how'd you find her?
Facebook, actually.
Facebook.
A lot. We did a bunch of posts on Facebook, and someone just reached out. They had our dog.
There you go. So tip for everybody, it seems like every community has a community Facebook page or two. Even if you don't follow them and get on it and you don't even do much with Facebook, I'd recommend you joining them. Just in case that happens, you're not waiting for an admin to approve you joining for 2 days.
Yeah.
Well, meanwhile, your dog's really lost now. That way, it's in your bucket list. Just whip that app open, post a cute picture of your pup, and that's probably a third of all the posts I see on our community page is lost dog. And it amazes me how many get found that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, it happened to me and Whoopi. Whoopi he got scared with a storm one day, and he literally just actually ran away from our yard. Yeah, and then we couldn't figure out where he was, so we posted stuff on our Facebook page, on our neighborhood Facebook page, and he was like 5 streets down,
so
in somebody's like garage, just hiding.
Oh,
and he was scared.
Poor little dude. Yeah. So, tip for the day: if you have Facebook, join your community pages, even if you never go to them, because if you ever need it, you need it now, not when an admin person gets around to approving you a day or two later.
Mm-hmm. It's also proof it does not matter how well your trained dog is. There's still opportunists, little dogs.
I joke and say bulletproof. There really is no such thing as a bulletproof dog, not even a police dog. But
she's pretty close.
If there's a dog that I would almost call bulletproof, it'd be Abby.
Yep, and she didn't run away. She just saw the open door and moseyed on out.
Looking for a human to lick. It literally happens to everybody, or it can happen to everybody. So watch your doors. If your dog's out front with you, keep them close. All right, so that was not the subject.
No.
The subject for today's podcast is dealing with behavioral and emotional issues or challenges you may be having with your dog. And we want to give you some tips on how to help your dog through those behavioral or emotional. So I guess first things first, you got to break it. You got to try to discern, is this a behavioral issue or is this an emotional issue? Because once you separate that, now it's much easier to come up with a plan. If it's behavioral based, that's easier. way easier. It can be some really bad behaviors, but that is easier to tackle than an emotional base. Would you agree, Julie?
I agree. And unless it's a behavioral problem that is stemmed from an emotional.
From an emotion,
yeah.
Exactly. Because reactivity quite often is a behavioral issue. It presents itself behaviorally because we see the lunging and the barking and I want to bite and kill. But it's typically based in emotion.
It's typically
just expresses itself.
A symptom of the actual problem.
Yeah, so that's why I say we have to figure out which one we're dealing with.
A lot of the, or at least in the last couple of months, a lot of the feisties that would come to us, they were just fearful.
Right.
It's clear as day that their aggression is based off of fear. And I think it's a lot, quote unquote, easier to deal with that than a dog that is aggressive just because they're aggressive.
Just because he's literally mean.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. I would say that's a good example. I have no idea what the stats are.
It's rare.
But definitely the high majority of any reactive dogs that we train is fear-based.
100%.
It's not.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Mean dog.
I think out of 3+ years, maybe a handful have been like, yeah, that dog's just not nice.
I can only think of one off the top of my head. His name is Duke, and I didn't call anybody out now because we trained a lot of Dukes. And that was exasperated by very weak leadership from
that
and no follow-up work with the dog.
That Anatolian Shepherd.
Oh,
that one
for sure.
I think he was just a spoiled brat that realized if he just bites his parents, he gets what he wants. But it was turning into some aggression.
Yeah, there was
aggression. It was no fear.
Yeah.
Well, and then also sometimes they just genuinely have something wrong in their brain.
Yes.
So then that addresses like a whole.
We trained that Rottweiler
great point, because we trained an Anatolian Shepherd years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. Very fear-based rescue, horrific backstory. Super mom, came to all the group classes. He's really good. Passed the CGC. Just awesome dog. And all of a sudden he started developing some real weird behavioral habits of not wanting to be touched and biting people. And so, she took him into the vet and everything was okay. And we did a couple training sessions, kind of got him rightened up. And then she calls me one weekend and says he bit her grown daughter in the face. Grown daughter lives with mom. So, has always for this dog's life. I thought, no, there's something wrong with the dog. You need to go in, and it turned out he had a brain tumor.
Yeah, it was super sad. We put a lot of work and time into that dog.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking
about. There's no fixing a brain tumor, from an obedience standpoint.
Or some really bad genetics. We trained a Rottweiler that we put a lot of work in this dog. Super good owners come out, find out, 6 months after training, and we're still struggling with the problem. They called the breeder, and out of the litter of 10, 6 had been returned for aggression problems.
Yeah.
And it was just getting worse. He's very socialized, likes people. It was just progressively getting worse aggression.
It was like nothing helped. Literally, it was like running sand through your fingers.
Right.
It just made no nonsensical sense of why this dog behaved that way. Because he had nothing but a great life with him since a puppy.
Yeah.
So that was a great example of, if you have a puppy and you've really done the work of socializing your dog and he just keeps getting more and more, you need to reach out to your breeder and ask, not accusatory, just, man, I need some backstory. Is there any other pups with this? Because that was a great example. That was a bad litter.
Because it was an expensive puppy from a good breeder, and they just would never breed those two ever again.
Right. They just, their DNA did not match.
Yeah. Because I researched the breeder too, and they have that was the only, I think, one other problem litter they had, but they have good reviews. Yeah. If I wanted a Rottweiler puppy and I wanted to spend that much, I would have thought about that
breeder.
There's nothing wrong with them from their website or the reviews or anything.
So there's a couple examples of a behavioral issue that is not emotionally driven, it's physically driven. So obviously training is not going to fix that. And medically, it might not be able to be fixed. Those two dogs, that Roddy and that Anatolian Shepherd, no, there was no fixing that medically. Once you determine, okay, is this behavioral based or emotionally based? Now you know a plan. So obviously, if it's purely just a behavioral based, and a great example is jumping. That's just a bad habit. That's behaviorally a bad behavior, right? Training. That is the solution. Just train your dog.
Yeah, 100%.
Most purely just behaviorally based issues are the dog doesn't know how to do what we would like it to do, and he's just trying to figure stuff out. And if you don't give him clarity and clear directions,
yeah, exactly.
He's just going to keep making it up, and he's trying. Maybe some dogs are stubborn. Maybe they're not trying as hard as others.
Those I mean, dogs like that. A lot of times it's. I feel like the person I want to blame is the owner, because they are just setting their dogs up for failure in terms of lack of expectation, lack of clarity, lack of structure. So like when I think about jumping or a dog that gets super excited to see their people when they come back, there's a reason they started acting that way. Not to say that a dog is not going to be excited, but if every single time you come home, you're like, oh my God, and you get all excited and they get excited and there's just this huge party happening, naturally the dog is going to think that's how it's supposed to be. You could even go as far as to say that then you're going to create separation anxiety because they're going to be so excited to see you. And when you're not around, they're like,
because you're not teaching your dog how to manage their emotions.
The problem is most people are not, I want to ruin my dog.
No,
they involuntarily cause all these problems.
Of course not. It's just very interesting to bring things like that up in lessons when you tell owners.
100%,
So, like, what do you do? I'll ask questions where I know I'm going to get the answer.
What are the rituals?
Like, what do you do when you come home? And do you allow them on the couch? Sometimes, no, yes, I don't know. I ask these questions so that I can get the real answer.
Right.
And then I'll tell them it's okay. Like I'm a dog trainer. I have a dog. We judge. We judge. We do stuff at home, and I get excited when I see him. But there are certain things. It just all depends on, like, if you don't want your 2-year-old Great Dane to jump on grandma, then you're going to need to stop letting it jump on you whenever you're saying hello. Things like that.
There's no, I like to say, there's no such things as a sometimes command. You cannot sometimes allow a dog to do something and then get upset with them when they do it later.
Right.
They're either always allowed to do a behavior or they are not allowed to do it.
Well, another pitfall a lot of people fall into is, I've got a 3-month-old little pitty and it's super cute. I'm going to have it in my lap all the time. Because it's cute.
Right.
Now it's 80 pounds, and I hate that I have a lap dog. You caused this monster.
Right.
For some reason in their brain, at 1.5 years, you change the rules on them.
Right, and that's unfair.
And they have no idea why.
It's not to say it can't be done, because obviously we do resets all the time, because most dogs that come here have behaviors that have to be changed. Not my quote, can't remember who quoted it, but remember, is if you have a puppy, you are not raising a puppy, you're raising an adult dog. So do not allow behaviors that you don't want to see a 70-pound dog doing when they're a puppy.
Yeah.
It might be cute.
Like biting.
Yeah, but it's not going to be cute when they're 70 pounds.
I would say the same metric should apply to little dogs.
Yeah.
If your dog was 100 pounds, would you let it do that?
Yeah, I messed up with my little dog.
They're just so easy.
Many people do. Because, let's face it, you're walking your 8-pound dog and he pulls on a leash. He's not going to knock you down. He's not going to pull you down. But he could trip you because you're trying not to step on him and crush him. So you take a nose plant because you didn't want to step on him. Well, now you're on the ground. So it still is dangerous.
And everyone that's owned a small dog has fallen over because of their dog at least once, trying not to step on them.
More people fall from tiny dogs walking them than large dogs being pulled off their feet.
Yes.
Because you'll break their leg if you step on them.
Yeah.
So once it's behavioral, easy fix. Training.
Structures, rules, discipline.
Be clear, give them lots of clarity, do your homework. Don't feel like it. Oh, well.
No.
It doesn't have to be 30-minute session. Just be consistent. Train as you live. Don't allow them on the couch if you don't want them on the couch. If you don't want them jumping on your leg while you're making dinner in the kitchen, but you don't mind that they're in the kitchen, well, then don't let them jump on your leg and force it.
Yep.
Right.
That's really,
what it comes down to.
That was one of the issues with that Anatolian we struggled to help, was they just let their dog bite them, and they never stopped it because they had the dog the whole dog's life.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm like, why at a year and a half are we struggling with biting? Why did we not fix this when it was a tiny little puppy?
Right.
Like when teething was done, you need to be real hardcore about you don't bite me hard anymore.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah, he was a worker.
I just think that some people like really don't know.
They don't. That's the sad part. And the sad part is you don't know. Get an easy breed. Love God. There's entry level dogs that you should get for your first
research.
dog.
If you haven't got a dog yet and you want to,
Get a golden.
If you're going to go rescue a dog, look online and see what dogs they have, and then do a Google search and see if that's the.
I'd really recommend, if you really want to do a rescue, get one that's been fostered, especially if it's your first dog.
Yeah, because now you can get a little backstory.
Yeah. And they usually have people and dogs at the foster house. They can give you a real, not just the pound says, well, this is what the person says. Good luck.
Right.
And they actually lived at someone's house for like a month, so they can give you some kind of rundown.
So the next one is going to be emotional challenges. I think we already mentioned most of these tend to be fear-based.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Dogs react out. So fight or flight for humans, fight or flight for dogs. If your dog's on a leash, you've eliminated the ability to flight. So they only have fight left.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you see a lot of lunging, and it doesn't even have to be lunging, just bad behavior.
Yeah,
because I'm going to bark at you and you're going to go away. Well, God, that works. I'll keep doing that.
Yep.
They don't put two and two together that, no, that person was going to go away whether you barked or not, because they're walking down the sidewalk. Of course they were going away. Mm-hmm. They just associate. I barked, they left. This is what I do from now on.
Yep. The defense mechanism works. Yep. Works very well.
So what's a couple things that people could do if they're having an emotional fear-based issue with the dog, Julie?
Confidence building.
Confidence.
That's the number one thing that I think of is confidence building, which has to do with socializing and things like that, like making their dogs confident enough to feel like they can deal with situations on their own. So that's why that's such a broad subject, because then when you think about a dog, like a young, 5-6 month old puppy who's just starting to figure out their way, but they're like, you can tell that they're a little weird. So they start to bark at things that are unknown and things like that. Whenever they're in training with us, those are the perfect dogs to take to a place like Home Depot, because then you're going to have them like socialize to people, to sounds, to different things. And depending on where they're at in their training, you can really guide them through in a very like specific, just do this and you'll be fine.
Right.
And then they're going to be like, oh, cool, I went on place on this weird object, but I did it. And then they're going to be super confident about it. So definitely confident building skills, I think, is probably the number one way that a lot of people don't realize
how important
it is. Yes.
Especially, we'll go back to the small dogs. So you have a small dog. Mm-hmm. How big is Whoopi?
He's 8 pounds.
8 pounds. Even. Yeah. So a habit of a lot of people is for, toy dogs, they'll carry them instead of let them walk on a leash. Mm-hmm. The problem is they're not allowing the dog to develop natural stresses that all dogs would have worked through while they're on the ground on a leash. So they tend to be a little more scared than others because they never develop that self-confidence. Mm-hmm. Oh, that was a leaf. It was no big deal. Mm-hmm. I see another one. Well, now he sees a leaf. He's never been on the ground with a big leaf coming at him.
All right.
So he's terrified of leaves.
It's so funny to put it that way, but it's true.
It is.
Like, that leaf's as big as he is.
I know.
I get why you are afraid of it, but we can't be living in fear of the thing.
You can't run around behind me because a plastic bag is working its way across the street.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so part of socialization is looking for those weird objects. Now, do it in a controlled environment. Mm-hmm. You come home from grocery shopping, leave some bags strewn around your, living room and kitchen for a little bit while the dog works his way through. Drop a used, an empty water bottle, and then step on it when you go into the kitchen so it hears that crinkly, weird, wasn't prepared for sound.
Yep.
I think one of my favorite places to go to for confidence building is playgrounds. Kids' playgrounds.
Yes.
Especially when you have ones that are relatively big enough that they have like a lot of different little obstacles. I think it's a lot of fun for the dogs because then you actually get to see specific things that they might be afraid of, whether it be the rattling of like something
the playgrounds are literally designed to do exactly what you're doing.
Oh yeah, right.
Decent sized kids to all this weird stuff. It works great with dogs too.
I just think that it's hard for like a typical day-to-day owner to go to a playground because like for us, for example, if right now I take my dog and I go train, there's not going to be any kids there. Because it's 10 a.m. So it's like no one.
That is true.
But in the afternoon, if that's when you're deciding to go, that can be a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
So
those are things that you would do on a weekend in the morning while the kids are still sleeping and watching cartoons.
Yep.
Or whatever little kids do nowadays. Maybe they don't watch cartoons. I don't
know.
YouTube.
We do a lot of group class at playgrounds because. That what you just said, a variety of textures, variety of heights and objects.
And every once in a while there will be kids screaming and playing.
And you don't just drag your dog across those objects. You walk with your dog across those objects, help them, pause, coax them, praise the heck out of them when if they're terrified of an object, praise them for putting one paw on it first.
Well, I think the main problem is people avoid their problems because they do not have the skill set to fix their problems. Yeah. Like small dogs, it's just so easy to pick the dog up to avoid that issue. It's just...
But you're not helping the dog.
You're not at all, but people tend to avoid things they don't know how to fix or even fix, even if they think it's too hard.
Right. And there's sometimes, we'll work with a dog that's afraid of something. And that object, that might take us 4, 5, 6, 7 sessions. It might take us 2 weeks to find and conquer a certain object.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay. We're not going to force the dog in the one session to conquer that thing he's afraid of. We'll work on other things. Every victory builds confidence. And then build enough victories for the dog, they become more confident. So don't. If you struggle like at a playground, getting your dog on one object, don't freak out. Just, hey, you know what? This might take you all month on Saturdays, and then it'll be a big party when your dog finally does it. And boy, when they finally do it, you make it a party.
Oh, yeah.
Get a lot of love.
It might be something way simpler than that. We've had dogs we train. It took us, a week and a half to get them to walk out the front door. Yeah. Calmly and not sprinting through it like they're going to get chased by something.
Yeah, we've had a few dogs that are petrified of the outdoors.
Simple as that.
They would do fine inside, but oh my God, don't take me outside.
Once they were outside, they were a little skittish, but they weren't so bad. It was going through that threshold. They did not like doors.
To this day, I remember Tucker. Oh my Lord. But he conquered it.
The hard part is you got to figure out which approach works for which dogs.
Right.
Because there are some dogs, you're just going to pull them through that door a whole bunch of times. And most dogs, I would think they're going to shut down. You're going to be halfway through the door and you're just going to stand there until they finally decide they're going to go through the door with you, or you're using food. There's just so many approaches.
Right.
That would work, which each dog, it's why
I do feel that this is a good time to say though, that obviously our goal for this podcast and things is to find a way to give knowledge to owners to do these things. But at the end of the day, these methods can be very complicated. There's a lot more to it than just hey, go take your dog to over there and let them freak out. Because at the end of the day, that's how things get worse.
Yeah,
100%.
So I want to make sure
it's a term called flooding. Flooding can help, but it can set you back.
Right.
So I would never recommend an average dog owner to ever flood their dog.
Right.
Because you don't know whether you set your dog back or help your dog.
That's typically the beauty of a dog trainer is they can tell you what worked with your dog specifically so you can commit to it and run with it. But there's exceptions to every single rule.
Yes.
That's why YouTube is so hard and so counterproductive. It's not that people are blatantly lying, but what worked with their personal dog won't work with your dog.
Presenting it as this is the solution in 14 days to fix your dog's problem. Well, yeah, they did it with one dog.
Even if it's the same breed, though. They could be like, I'm a Belgian Malinois trainer. It's all I trained. I could have the weird one.
Yep.
Seriously. Yep.
Yeah, there's different mouths. I mean, if you have an emotional issue with the dog, I would highly, highly recommend seek a very experienced dog trainer. If you're needing help, we'd love to help here at Canine Culture, because emotional, it's illogical. So
it's an irrational fear.
It's just an irrational fear. It's hard. It takes a lot of dogs to develop a sense of what's the right approach and what's the wrong approach for this environment and this dog that I have on this list.
And you got to also understand, just because your dog's desensitized to something does not mean they like it.
Oh, correct.
Like I can do heights. I do not like heights. My dad made me do jobs that specifically were on ladders to get me over that fear.
Yeah.
I can do it. I just don't like it. Like my dog, Abby, great example. She does not like dogs. She can be civil and mildly social with them, but she is not going to go up to every dog to go lick their face.
Yeah,
she just wants to coexist.
Yeah. All right. Any other parting thoughts on emotional or behavior issues that people might be struggling with their dogs?
I would say if you catch it early, like this is not so much for rescues, but again, even with rescues, the earliest you can catch it, the less baggage you're going to have to work through.
It's almost, think of it this way, it's a habit. So the longer you let your dog repeat that habit, the harder and longer it takes to break the habit. The faster you get that resolved, the happier dog's going to be. He don't want to live like that either.
Yep.
I think the only thing I would add for an emotional based issue is just remember to be patient. Because I know that it's extremely complicated when you deal with dogs that are.
Oh, and be happy. Don't be when you get frustrated and angry. Take a break. It's okay to take a tactical pause. Time out for you and your dog.
Tactical pause, I like that.
And just calm down for a second, because my husky pet, he's not a bad dog. He just knows how to push my buttons.
Right.
Just like my children.
If you're ever struggling and you find that you're just getting frustrated, stop.
Yeah.
But don't just stop. Ask your dog to do something that you know they're going to easily be able to do. Win on a victory, stop on a victory, and then take a break.
Yep.
Yeah. And then start again when you're in a better mindset. You're not helping your dog by pushing through at that point. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Canine Culture Dog Training DFW is our handle for those. And if you are needing help with your dog, we would love to help you. Contact us here at Canine Culture in Dallas, Texas. You can either reach out through our website, k-9culture.com, Instagram or Facebook, or give us a call, and we'll discuss problems you're having, what your goals are, and get your dog on the right path. Next week, we will be, the tool maketh the dog not.
I was like,
we'll be, all of us will be discussing our top picks for training equipment. We'll be discussing, it's not just our top picks, we'll be discussing training equipment, tools, as it's sometimes called by trainers, what the pros are, the cons are, what they mean. If you're thinking of getting X, Y, or Z tool, you definitely want to listen to our podcast so we can give you the pros and cons before you put something on your dog. So join us next week. And from everyone here today, go
have fun with your dog.